Hello YouTube and welcome to another update. As you can see, I've got the table here just absolutely full of goodies, so I'm going to take some time and go through them a little bit, sort of one by one. I guess we'll start off with the easiest thing. This is nothing new. This is just a standard, I think it's a Fox Valley boxcar, but what I did end up getting was one of the Bachmann end of train flashing lights. Now, one thing I didn't realize was Bachmann has an absolutely huge hole in terms of where the screw goes for the axles to sort of mount the trucks to the body. And so as you can see, I've got a little bit of a plastic washer, plastic disc to sort of hold it in there. Still got a little bit of play with it, but overly not too much. Again, I'm assuming these are probably meant for Bachmann cars, and that's why the Ring Engineering ones are so much more expensive, is because I guess they're a little bit more universal. But for the most part, does the trick, does what I need it to do. I used to have a 40-foot cast container that had one of these things sort of built into it. It was a gimmicky thing, and unfortunately the battery ran out, and I replaced the battery, and whatever reason, it just wouldn't run again after that. So, my assumption is they probably used something like just the insides of one of those flashing Hallmark greeting cards, and it wasn't really proper electronics. But I've got something now that'll sort of do in terms of, end of train flashing device. So moving on, you'll probably see gondola rama happening here. As you can see in one of my previous videos, I've got these new, I think they're called Fabcon or Fab something caps for the gondolas. So I got 6 of them. I've got 5 here, and there's another one hiding in the basement. But essentially, for my last video, I discovered that I bought 6 caps, but I only had 4 gondolas. So definitely had to fix that issue. So eBay had a couple good deals on, so I picked up. The guy was offering 3 of these CN ones for a good price, so I was able to win that auction, and I'm happy. They came as I would expect any used Rapido product would. They're functioning, they worked, nothing broken, everything was running fine, so gonna be pleased with that. And then I went over to Credit Valley the other week too, and picked up a couple of these. He had whatever was left over in terms of stock on sale pretty much, so I picked up some BC rails. I did want to get one of the newer paint scheme Ontario Northlanders, but well, I just couldn't afford one, or I couldn't find it or whatever, because it's kind of interesting that they charge a little bit more for those ones, which I find a bit bizarre, but what can you do? But moving on, you'll see in the background here, I've also able to score an Athearn John Deere flat car with 2 tractors. I already have one of these, and I think I paid through the nose for it handsomely when I first got the original one. I think I paid like 65 bucks or something for it off eBay. This one wasn't so bad, another eBay win, but I was able to get it for about 40 bucks plus shipping, so definitely happy there. This thing was brand new. The tape was actually still sealed on the box, and tractors, there's nothing broken with them, so I'm very pleased with that. And the bonus is it's actually a different road number than the one I have already, so I can't complain there either. Make sure that doesn't roll away. And then moving on, you'll obviously see in the background flashing there the latest releases from East Coast Circuits. Obviously I picked those up from Harris Hobbies. Jack Harris pretty much tells me as soon as East Coast Circuits comes out with anything new, sort of what they're coming out with, and so I pretty much get first crack at buying it if I want them or not. So let's just take a little closer look on those. So as you can see, they're just your typical run-of-the-mill Walthers Seamaster UPS trucks, but again, because East Coast Circuits were able to get their hands on them, they added in some cool effects. So that's got the front blinking, and then obviously you can see the rear marker lights blinking as well. Right, so that one was a little pricey. I think these vans go for about 25, 30 bucks Canadian. And so that with the East Coast Circuit customization was about $60 US. Not complaining because again, I don't know of anybody else that sort of does this type of thing, and so I'm very appreciative that somebody's offering this to the general public for, in my opinion, somewhat of a reasonable price. But moving on, so here's the other UPS delivery van. So if you can see, he's got his four ways blinking there going, and then sort of same thing in the back. All right. And they're pretty cool. Just I'm not going to obviously light up every vehicle on my layout, but just the occasional one definitely adds another dimension, a little bit more depth. But that was pretty cool. And then obviously might not be able to see it, so I'll just try and lift it up here without knocking everything over. Got everything sort of running with just the Woodland Scenics Just Plug light hub. Interesting story about that. The first one I bought didn't work, and it was kind of interesting. So went through, broke out the multimeter, tested the power supply, tested the lights, tested the leads. Everything's good, and basically after about an hour worth of testing, it came down to the light hub was bad. So same day I bought it was the same day I diagnosed it as being bad. Little disappointed because I was doing something cool for my boys. I was essentially using that to attach to a shelf and light up all their Rapido buses. And so, I was a little disappointed, but I emailed Woodland Scenics, that day. They got back to me that day and basically told me that, don't worry about it. We're going to go out and ship you out a new light hub. A couple days later, it came in and, happy to say the new one works. So, I mean, it's just... I don't know if anybody's ever dealt with Woodland Scenics customer service, but they're just absolutely phenomenal, right? Like they really stand behind their products, so I'm very happy sort of mention that here. But let's move on with the update. So moving on, we have the latest release from Rapido. I know this isn't a North American model, but again, my oldest son loves buses, and these Rapido buses are just absolutely phenomenal in terms of, detailing and the additional extras that they do. So I'm sort of helping him build up his collection of those. But yeah, so this is the Guy Arab, or I guess they call it the Brumby bus or something like that. So these are basically, the infamous England double-decker buses. And I'll say, on par with every other one that Rapido's made. If anything, I'd probably say this one's a little bit better. Just reason being is you have two levels. And inside you can actually see there's painted patterns on the seats in terms of the fabric, which is just outstanding, phenomenal detail. So this is actually a Christmas present for my son, so I won't be advertising to him that I made a new video, because if I do, that's going to spoil the surprise. So they come, I think, in several different routes and whatnot, different route names and stuff like that. But being in Canada, obviously these things aren't very popular. I know Rapido's got a few of the non-illuminated ones sort of left. Obviously, the illuminated ones, most of them went over to the UK, obviously, where these buses are a little bit more popular in terms of being situated. But like I said, I collect the buses for my son. He loves them. This will be a great addition to his collection. It's just, phenomenal level detail of this thing. And again, you get two levels with it. All right, so it's pretty cool. So that's about it for the updates. I just thought I'd share some of the latest hauls I got. And obviously you can see I've been on a vehicle binge and a gondola binge, and more than likely that's sure enough to continue through the next weeks. But until then, see you around, have fun, and enjoy.